So last week I finally caught up with Spiritfarer, and it's a pretty good game indeed, but 5 hours into the game I started asking myself, why don't I give a crap about all these characters? Okay, a bit of context is required here. Spiritfarer is a cozy, calm and peaceful management game where everyone is dead. You're appointed as Charon's replacement, and your job is stuffing your big sexy boat with as many spirits as you can find in the afterlife, and after you've fed them enough cakes and acted as their therapist for long enough, they'll finally be ready to move on to super heaven. You can immediately see what the game is going for. Spend some time with a variety of poor souls so you can get attached to them, and then bawl your eyes out when the inevitable farewell comes in. Yet, 4 spirits in, I still couldn't get emotionally invested. And before you say I'm a cold-hearted bastard, I'll let you know I'm a cold-hearted bastard only in real life. But in video games? I managed to get a bit emotional during the ending of Beautiful Joe, for Christ's sake. It's dead easy to make me cry. But why was this happening? The game is beautiful, the soundtrack is incredible, the writing is great. And then I realized, these lovable, tender characters are not your friends. They're an obstacle between you and the end credits. Gameplay-wise, they don't exist as your companions. Their requests are the challenge you have to face, and kicking them out of the boat is your end goal. After a couple of hours, they stop being people and turn into numbers you need to crunch. How many pieces of glass do I need to build a shower for my fat uncle? How many gold ingots do I need to craft so the eagle guy can have the clock he wants so much? And at that point, all my emotional investment is gone and replaced by cold, measured resource management. But surely this is a Spiritfarer issue, right? It's not like all the other games in the world have side characters you need to throw into the pits of hell. Well, no, but the problem is still there. Let's take a companion system I like quite a lot actually, the Persona series. At night you fight ugly monsters, but during the day you need to hang out with your friends, and the more you spend time with them, the closer you get to them. But the day only has so many hours, you need to choose whom you want to hang out with in your spare time. And that's great, because it feels real, or at least it would be if you actually spent your time with your friends instead of with anime waifus. But again, from a gameplay perspective, there is one specific goal behind this. The greater a bond becomes, the more bonuses you get. So now these side characters may not be an obstacle, but they're designed as glorified tools in your arsenal, and that's how it plays out in most games out there, and it's the polar opposite of what happens in real relationships. You don't hang out with people hoping to get something out of them, unless you're a corporate slave who's ready to sacrifice their dignity to lick your boss's shoes. You hang out with them because you genuinely enjoy their company, without thinking of how you can exploit that relationship for your own success. Mass Effect 2 kind of got it. You build a squad of mercenaries, and immediately after you can go for the final mission. I'm not sure, but I think you can get the whole game done in the same amount of time as the acceptance species at this year's TGA. You can do that, and technically succeed, but pretty much everyone in your squad will die, unless you decide to help them sort out their personal stuff, which usually ends up with someone getting a bullet in the brain. You know, the best kind of therapy.
Pew, 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 pew.
But regardless, you still have to make the deliberate choice of helping your teammates. Unfortunately, the game immediately ruins this entire setup by hammering down on your head at least 67 times that you really should help Miranda sorting out her family issues. Otherwise, during the final mission, she might remember of that one time she dropped a popsicle at the beach when she was 6 and get shot. And with that, once again, I don't engage with these characters because I like them, but because I am compelled to do so in order to achieve a positive and, most importantly, predictable result. I feel like this creates a whole paradoxical situation where a player's attachment to an NPC might drop the more the relationships with these side characters become a tangible reward. This is why some of the characters I love the most are from the Danganronpa series, an incredible murder mystery where a bunch of students are trapped and forced to kill each other. But in between murders you can spend some time with your fellow classmates, and yes, this also nets you rewards in the form of extra skills you can use later, but they have such a minimal impact on the gameplay they're barely a blip on your radar. So for once I hanged out with digital friends because I actually liked them, and sometimes I stopped hanging out with some of them because I realized they were very weird.
I see, yes.
And this in turn made their subsequent deaths so much more visceral and impactful, and if you become very good friends, you get their panties. Stay classy, Japan. I hear you say, "Oh, RoboKnob, so isn't there a solution to this Shakespearean dilemma? Are we really going to forever treat this bunch of pixels as meaningless stepping stones towards our own success?" Not necessarily, my dear viewers. As an example, let's review one of the most famous interactions in gaming history. The little cute dog in Resident Evil 4 who gets stuck in a bear trap. This event is pretty much unmissable. You find the doggy and you free him. Why wouldn't you do it? What kind of person are you? Worse than Hitler? At least he loved dogs. Not long after, you reach the fight against the troll from Harry Potter 1. And look at that! It's the doggy coming to the rescue! You helped that fella out of the kindness of your heart, and now here he is unexpectedly repaying the favor. Alright, so let's rewind this a bit and add a few more elements to the scene. Instead of making freeing the dog a very obvious choice, how about we start off by putting him a little bit out of view? Alright, now let's surround him by angry villagers, and now we also surround the player with more angry villagers. So now you're still going to try to save the doggy, if you notice him, but you also have to beat a bunch of Spanish zombies and put yourself in danger to achieve that. And all of this just because you saw a side character in peril, without knowing what you'll get out of it. And you actually get nothing immediately. It takes time before you find out that there is a reward later down the line. And with this setup, we've just created a much more compelling and heartfelt connection between the player and this old 3D model of a wolf. Expand that to other games and we find out that the key is simply hiding the potential reward you might get out of helping or interacting with other characters.
The box! What was in the box?
Help me find my cat's favorite toy, and I'll let you know what's inside the secret box of mysteries.
The only reason why I remember the companions from New Vegas is exactly because I completed their quests, not because the game flashed some kind of giant prompt telling me I would get a reward out of it, but because I wanted to help them. With all this in mind, let's go back to Spiritfarer and imagine if, for example, you could immediately get spirits out of your boat. What if listening and helping them was a personal decision? Something that could change the ending, or maybe sometimes you could get a reward. Sometimes, who knows, maybe helping some spirits would actually have a negative impact, therefore making the choice even more meaningful. In short, much like I appreciate Persona's time management for its realism, this would also feel realistic. Sometimes you interact with a stranger and nothing will come out of it. Sometimes instead you'll meet them again, maybe days or months or years later, and they'll remember you. And this time, they'll be the ones lending you a helpful hand. Yeah, never mind, scratch that, I said realistic.
Alright, gonna go a bit out of script here, I'm not even gonna bother editing the audio. I finished editing this video last night, but I thought that since this is the last video of the year, I wanted to wish everyone happy holidays. And also, since it's the last video of my first year making YouTube videos, I wanted to thank everyone who subscribed, left a like or a comment. What else? Well, I also made a Twitter account, so if you like listening my dumb stuff, now you can also read my dumb stuff. And also I've never used Twitter, so it's gonna be like watching your old grandpa using Twitter. It's gonna be fun. And if it's the first time you watch one of my videos, there are other good stuff in my channel. There are some good videos. Give it a look. And okay, so play a lot of games, eat a lot during these holidays, and we'll see each other next year. Bye bye!